Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today we're doing another episode of Guns N' Roses True Story. So today we're talking about the song My Michelle from Appetite for Destruction. Now, this song was featured on, of course, on Appetite, and it was also featured later on their live album Live Era, which came out in 1999. Now, this song was written by both Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin. And what's important to note is that for the recording of this song, guitarist Slash used a slightly different setup. So for the rest of the album, he used a Gibson Les Paul copy through a modified Marshall amplifier on the same settings for each song. However, for this song, he swapped it out with a 1980s Gibson SG because he felt it had a darker sound. Now, the song is about a friend of the band, a girl named Michelle Young, who is thanked in the Appetite for Destruction cover sleeve. So Slash knew Young through junior high, and she was a friend of Slash's first girlfriend. Now, according to Axl Rose, he and Young were in a car together when Your Song by Elton John came on the radio, and Young happened to mention that she always wanted somebody to write a song about her. So Rose's first attempt was a sweet, almost romantic song, but one that absolutely had nothing to do with the reality of Michelle's life. He was unhappy with this version and rewrote it, this time seeking to be completely honest. Several members of the band expressed concern over this version of the song, especially Slash, fearing it would upset Michelle Young. Rose himself then became hesitant, but had finally decided to show it to her. She liked the song and the attention it brought to her, and was especially pleased with the honesty, most notably regarding her drug addiction, the death of her mother, and her father's work in the pornography industry, all of which is mentioned in the first verse. According to Slash's self-titled autobiography, Young managed to clean up and move across the country to escape her lifestyle. And Axl even stated in an interview in 1987 that it wasn't only Michelle Young who actually liked the song, it was actually her dad who ended up loving the song as well. Now you guys may be wondering, well, how does Michelle Young feel about the song years later? So in Mark Cantor's book Reckless Road, which came out in 2007, she said the following: "The song isn't so flattering, but the whole process at that time in my life was awesome. I thought, oh my god, this is great. But then there are ramifications of having a song written about you. I know in my heart I'm part of history. I lived with them and I'm glad I did. I'm here and I survived it along with many others. I would prefer if people didn't know that song was about me, especially since I have a pretty high-powered job and I'm a mom. I meet the occasional person who knows that I'm the person, and they'll introduce me and say, guess who this is?" She was also interviewed in Legendary Rock Interviews, and she claimed she never heard the 99% sweet version of the song that Axl originally wrote about her, but then eventually scrapped. Now, you guys also may be wondering, since the song was written about how she was using drugs, there's also a later verse that says, "Now you're clean and so discreet, I won't say a word." And the interviewer said, what was that particular line attributed to? So Michelle said, "Yeah, I know exactly why he wrote that line," referring to Axl. "I had went to a program and gotten sober and was still in the program, but it was New Year's Eve and Axl was at party at Wes Arkeen's house. I went over there and I started using again, and I told Axl, please don't tell anyone," and that's where the "I won't say a word" part came from. My favorite part of the song is the very beginning because it's so reflective of how it was when people met me back in those days. Like, it's not clear where it's going, it's a little dark and scary, and that's pretty indicative of how I had no idea I would go from where I was totally a wild kid just going crazy in Hollywood. She also revealed how she was romantically involved with several of the members of Guns N' Roses, even up to the point after the Use Your Illusions album came out. She said, "Yeah, we had a love affair. I mean, I'm trying to make it sound better than what it was. We had romantic involvings for many years. It was on and off for many years, and it was a tumultuous relationship for sure." And the interviewer said, "Wow, for years," you said? "At least 4 or 5 years, possibly 6 or 7, yeah. Even after November Rain and the second and third album came out, we were having encounters." And she said it was mostly because we were such good friends, but when I would see him, it would be nice once or twice a year and we would have sexual relations. Now, Michelle Young also revealed the first time that she actually heard the song. So the first time she heard the song was not actually live. She said, "I heard it when I was in my dad's house. I was in my bedroom. I remember it was the daytime and the phone rang and the first call was from Slash. He called and said something to the effect of, 'Axl wants to talk to you,' or 'Axl's going to call you Michelle.' I don't remember if they were together, but I remember that Slash called first and said something like, 'Please be honest about this, I'm really scared,' or something like that. Then I remember Axl called. He would always call me and sing me new songs. He would play this drum beat on his knee and sing and snap to me on the phone whenever he had a new song." Now, if you guys have heard the live era version of My Michelle, it cranks up the rage even more. There's more profanity in the actual live era version, and according to Michelle Young, that's because Axl was mad at me at the time. Again, it was a tumultuous time, even though we didn't really see each other that much. It was always on and off again. with Axl. He was mad at me at this point for what I don't remember, because he would get mad at me all the time for various different things. One minute it would be, oh, Michelle is such a good friend of mine, I love her so much, the song's about her. And the next time it would be, oh, that effing bitch didn't show up for my concert because she's doing acid with her friends, I effing hate her. And that actually happened once. He was getting tickets for my little cousins, and I go to the concert, and I was supposed to be there to meet him. I believe it was once in Anaheim or something. My younger cousins went and were shocked and came back and said, oh my God, Michelle, he talked so much shit about you, and that was all because I didn't show up. I told him I can't, Axl, I'm on acid, which I was, but I was like, wow, he didn't have to tell everybody about it. He would stay with me at my dad's house a lot. He would sleep over a lot, and I would take him all over to the shows and stuff because he didn't drive, so I would take him to concerts and gigs all around. I would wait for him when he would get ready to go and put up with his tantrums and hissy fits and all of that shit. So no, the live version of the song doesn't surprise me, to answer your question. And Duff talked about how the song actually came together in his book. He said Slash had a great riff, a typical Slash riff. It was a slinky, spidery thing, but he was playing it really fast at first. While working on it together with the whole band, collaboration was a magic ingredient for almost all our songs. And unlike a lot of Guns N' Roses songs, My Michelle wasn't originally written acoustically. According to Duff, My Michelle got written electric, you can kind of tell, according to him. He said My Michelle also went through many different phases of a song. It was halftime for a while. And Duff was asked in July of 2000 what was his favorite Guns N' Roses song to play live. And he said, I don't know, there's a load of songs I like. For many a year, My Michelle was the song I'd love to play the most. But towards the end of the Illusions tour, my favorite was Pretty Tied Up. Now what's funny is during the tail end of the Illusions tour, like, 93 and even 92, at least part of 92, they didn't play Pretty Tied Up really that much at all, except I would say at the beginning of 92. And they didn't really play My Michelle at all in 92 or 93. There was maybe a couple concerts they played here and there, but they didn't play it a whole lot after 91. And Izzy talked a bit about the song too. He said for Michelle, Axl called up and said he had this melody. I had a riff and it was a slow, smooth melody. When we were playing with it, Slash turned his amp up and went into a bashing thing, and we said, wow. It turned into a hard rock song, but it started out as an acoustic song. So it's kind of funny. It according to Duff, it was created electric, and then according to Izzy, he says they actually started out as an acoustic song. So I guess depending on who you talk to, you'll get a different story about the song. Now Slash talked a bit about the song as well in his book, as well as in an interview he did in Guitar Edge magazine. He said there was one more classic that we wrote back there in the garage, My Michelle. The music originated there. I think it was over the course of a few afternoons. I believe Izzy and I came up with the basic structure, and then as usual, Duff came through with exactly what the song needed to evolve. Basically, the writing of My Michelle started with the heavy riff. I remember doing the riff first, then making up the intro to it. I'm really into good intros. The Stones, the Beatles, The Who, and Aerosmith often had great intros, and they were some of my favorite songs of all time. Something that started off quiet and crescendoed into this big crash. If I ever came up with a good riff, I'd always have to think of a great intro to support it. Now, My Michelle wasn't played a whole lot after Gilby joined the band. In fact, after Gilby joined the band, they only played it a handful of times. And after, Guns N' Roses fell apart in the 90s, with Axl's version of the band in the 2000s and 2010s, they would play My Michelle quite frequently. And then during the reunion tour, they'd play My Michelle almost every alternate concert. They'd usually switch it out with Out to Get Me. And during some of the North America and Europe shows that Guns did in 2006 with Sebastian Bach would actually join Axl on stage to perform the song. And then there was another performance in 2016 at one of their first reunion shows where Sebastian Bach actually joined Axl once again on stage to perform the song. So let's talk about some popular covers of this song. So in the Super NES, Sega Saturn, and PlayStation versions of the game Mega Man X3, Neon Tiger's stage theme music is extremely similar to the song. Surprisingly, Capcom confirmed that this is just a coincidence. We also had the punk rock group AFI cover the song on the compilation album Punk Goes Metal. If you guys want to listen to their cover of the song, I've linked to it down below in the description box. We also had the song covered by the Dillinger Escape Plan for the controversial Guns N' Roses tribute album Bring You to Your Knees, a tribute to Guns N' Roses. And after the album was recorded, members of the Dillinger Escape Plan and now admit in interviews that the album was terribly recorded, but they were happy with their song. Now, if you guys want to listen to their cover of My Michelle, I've linked to it down below in the description box as well. There's also some demos available of My Michelle on YouTube, and I've also linked to those down as well. Now, let's look at where the song ranks on the best to worst Guns N' Roses song list. Spin.com actually did not care much for the song. They gave it the 59th best Guns N' Roses spot. Meanwhile, LA Weekly ranked it as the 16th best Guns N' Roses song. I'm more inclined to agree with LA Weekly. I think it's one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs. Maybe not in my top 10, but it's definitely in my top 20. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the song My Michelle. Comment down below and let me know. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the content of this video, and be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do and you want to see more videos just like this. And you guys can also follow me on social media. The links to my social media accounts are down below, and you can always support me on Patreon as well. So that's also in the description box below. Take care, guys.